back to Tolkien's letter. Lead us not in temptation, and C is the harder and the less often considered petition. The view in the terms of my story is that though every event or situation has at least two aspects, the history and development of the individual, it is something out of which he can get good, ultimate good for himself, or fail to do so, and the history of the world, which depends on his action for its own sake. Still, there are normal situations in which one may be placed. Sacrificial situations, I should call them, positions in which the good of the world depends on the behavior of an individual and circumstances which demand of him suffering and endurance far beyond the normal. Even it may happen or seem, humanly speaking, demand a strength of body and mind which he does not possess. He is in a sense doomed to failure, doomed to fall into temptation or be broken by pressure against his will. That is against any choice he could make or would make unfettered, not under the duress. And that's how we are too. We often have temptations. I know I do, and it's hard to fight them sometimes. But it can be done with the grace of God. We can do it. But Frodo became so fallen by the time they got to Mount Doom that the ring had finally taken hold of him, and there's nothing you can do. And that happens to humans too. And so some people die without asking God for forgiveness or accepting Christ as their Savior. But there's still hope for them because there's a thing called the millennium. Christ will reign on earth with his saints for 1,000 years. What do you think him and the saints are all going to be doing? Going between heaven and hell, trying to convert as many people possible. Then Satan's going to be let loose a short period at the end of the millennium, and then whoever ends up following him then goes to hell and dies, and those who don't follow him instead live forever. Him being, again, follow the devil, hell. You follow Christ, heaven. Where will heaven be? Right here on earth. That's just the way it is. But I digress. Frodo was in such a position, an apparently complete trap. A person of greater native power could probably never have resisted the ring's lure to power so long. A person of less power could not hope to resist it in the final decision. Already, Frodo had been unwilling to harm the ring before he set out, and was incapable of surrendering it to Sam. Actually, he probably would have killed Sam. That scene in the Tower of Cirith Ungol, he's like, Sam, give me the ring, and Sam was hesitating because the ring was calling to him. And I think, doesn't it say that Frodo kind of almost raised his hand to strike him or something like that at one point? So that's how the hold that ring had on him at that point. And most human beings, like Tolkien said, would not be able to endure like Frodo did. We wouldn't. Christ was tempted in all ways as we are, but he succeeded in resisting because he's God. You can't tempt God. That's in the Bible. It's Old Testament law. Do not tempt the Lord thy God. Is God going to tempt himself? Why would you do that? No. And so it says, Tolkien says, the quest was doomed to failure. It was going to fail. He apostatized, and I have had one savage letter crying out that he should have been executed as a traitor, not honored. Believe me, it was not until I read this that I had myself any idea how topical such a situation might appear. It arose naturally from my plot, conceived in main outline in 1936. I did not foresee that, before the tale was published, we should enter a dark age in which the technique of torture and disruption of personality would rival that of Mordor and the Ring, and present us with the practical problem of honest men of goodwill broken down into apostates and traitors. And we definitely see that today, don't we? It's gotten worse, hasn't it? But at this point, the salvation of the world and Frodo's own salvation is achieved by his previous pity and forgiveness of injury. He felt sorry for Gollum. He had compassion on him, like the Lord has compassion for us. Gave us his only begotten Son, so that we should not perish but have eternal life. How's that a Christian theme for you? He forgave Gollum, acted kind towards him. And Gollum at one point hesitated and almost repented when he was about to give them over to Shelob. But Sam spoke harshly to him, and so, yeah, that ended. If Sam hadn't done that, what would the situation on Mount Doom have looked like? Probably completely different, right? Very, very different. To pity him, to forbear, or wait a minute, I skipped a sentence. At any point, any prudent person would have told Frodo that Gollum would certainly betray him and could rob him in the end. To pity him, to forbear to kill him, was a piece of folly or a mystical belief in the ultimate value in itself of pity and generosity, even if disastrous in the world of time. He did not rob him and injure him in the end, but by a grace. That last betrayal was at a precise juncture when the final evil deed was the most beneficial thing anyone could have done for Frodo. By a situation created by his forgiveness, he was saved himself and relieved of his burden. He was very justly accorded the highest honors, since it is clear that he and Sam never concealed the precise course of events. And they let it be known exactly what happened, so everybody knew, and they forgave. What does the Bible teach us? Forgive others. That's in the Lord's Prayer too. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive others theirs against us. I mean, come on. That chapter, Mount Doom, like I said, exemplifies the Lord's Prayer. It is there. Okay. Into the ultimate judgment upon Gollum, I would not care to inquire. This would be to investigate God's privati, as the medievals said. And who can know the mind of God? Nobody. We don't know the exact thoughts in God's head right now, do we? No. So why should we judge others? Because we're going to be judged too. How's that a Christian theme for you? Gollum was pitiable, but he ended in persistent wickedness, and the fact that this worked good was no credit to him. His marvelous courage and endurance, as great as Frodo and Sam's were greater, being devoted to evil, was pretentious, but not honorable. I am afraid, whatever our beliefs, we have to face the fact that there are persons who yield to temptation, reject their chances of nobility or salvation, and appear to be damnable. Their damnability is not measurable in the terms of the macrocosm, where it may work good. But we who are all in the same boat must not usurp the judge. Judge not, lest ye be judged. Right? I get it. Again, fictional character, but that's not the point. We're talking about the theme, the Christian themes in Tolkien's writings, okay? We're talking about a fairy tale world that could have been true because it has the way he wrote it. Obviously not true, but this is just the mode of thinking we have to have when we're reading these works if you want to escape from our current world for a little while. And escapism is a very good thing. I might have to do a video on that too. That has sometimes people, look down on escapism. Even today, even conservatives will look down on it. But again, you're usurping the judge. Who made you Lord and God over the rest of us? Nobody. Because you're, like it says here, in the same boat. No one's special here. The domination of the ring was much too strong for the mean soul of Smeagol. That's how you properly say his name. But he would have never had to endure it if he had not become a mean sort of thief before it crossed his path. Which means Gollum was already a bad dude even before the ring. The ring basically just enhanced his badness, as sin and temptation can do. Need it ever have crossed his path? Need anything dangerous ever cross any of our paths? A kind of answer could be found in trying to imagine Gollum overcoming temptation. The story would have been quite different. By temporizing, not fixing the still not wholly corrupt Smeagol will towards good in the debate in the slag hole, he weakened himself for the final chance when dawning love of Frodo was too easily withered by the jealousy of Sam before Shelob's lair. After that, he was lost. And jealousy can be a bad thing, right? Look what it did here. And as Tolkien would say, there's one God overseeing all of this. This was his plan. And no matter what Gollum did, God's plan is always going to serve. It's bigger. And we have to conform to God's plan. You get to the Silmarillion, it starts with Eru Ilúvatar, and that name means the one children of God. Or not one children of God, the one father of all. I'm sorry. Eru, the one, Ilúvatar, all father. He's God over all. Then you have the Erohin or Erohini, which are the children of Eru, the children of the One, which are elves, men, dwarves, hobbits. It's all of us. So yes, there is a God overseeing all these things. To sit there and say there is no God in here, you don't know what you're talking about. And Gandalf, of course, was an angel, and when he died, he actually went to Eru Ilúvatar's timeless halls, and then sent back. Goes from Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White. Oh, I mean, where do we go when we die? We go back to God. Where did Christ go? Back to God. 3 days later, he came back. Come on. I mean, it's not hard. Tolkien says, the incarnation of God is an infinitely greater thing than anything I would dare to write. Here I am only concerned with death as part of the nature, physical and spiritual of man, and with hope without guarantees. That is why I regard the tale of Arwen and Aragorn as the most important of the appendices. It is part of the essential story, and is only placed so because it could not be worked into the main narrative without destroying its structure, which is planned to be hobbito-centric, that is, primarily a study of the ennoblement or sanctification of the humble. And of course, you have in Aragorn and Arwen a semblance of the divine, because, Jesus, sorry, I gotta itch my nose. Their ancestors were a man and an elf, and the elf was the daughter of an angel that took on a human form. So you have that all there as well. Again, these are all the children of God, right? We all are.